Are you prepared for the drop?
Joe.
Perfect timing.
Fred, oh, no.
2025, here we
Let's
go.
settle
go.
down here. Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1456. Verify that, staff, anyone?
No, you're
Yeah.
right. 1456.
Good.
Nailed it, boss.
Got it.
January 6, 2025. 49 degrees was the record high on this day. That was in 1900. And it was 27 below on this morning in 1912.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Height in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Yeah, quite a thumping last night. Let's move on to something else. Because we'll cover that later today with Patrick.
He's in the house.
I know.
He has a glow about him right now.
I'm sorry that I did not fold this paper prior to the show. Over the weekend, Governor Walz announced, as though he was doing something novel, he announced the creation of a new unit to probe fraud in the state. There are already a number of entities charged with that task, not to mention a state auditor who has already told the governor that the fraud, virtually in all part, was due to an extraordinary lack of oversight. For him to come along at this late date and try and present himself as the face of rational behavior is absolutely preposterous. He wants to add 9 staff members to the Attorney General's Medicaid fraud unit. I don't think that's necessary. What's necessary is that the existing Medicaid fraud unit should have taken a look at Medicaid fraud. He wants to give agencies expanded authority to stop payments from going to people and entities suspected, charged, or convicted of fraud or financial crimes. Why wasn't that done 4 years ago? He wants to use AI, artificial intelligence, to detect and prevent fraud. Okay. He wants to create a theft of public funds statute that increases criminal penalties by 20% compared to the existing theft statute. So what Walz is doing is creating additional layers of government to hide the fact that he hasn't done a damn thing since he's been governor. I seriously believe that he should be impeached. I would wish the legislature would take it up. I don't have a great deal of hope. He can't come in now after over $500 million of taxpayer money has been stolen and claim that the reason was an absence of the kind of oversight he now wishes to create by these unnecessary redundancies in law enforcement entities we already have. This is a dreadful, dreadful lack of responsibility on his part. I do seriously think he should be impeached. No Minnesota governor has ever been impeached. A couple of judges in Minnesota back in the day were impeached. No governor has been impeached. And the only thing I could find in Minnesota is that a governor in Minnesota can be impeached for misconduct. To me, it constitutes misconduct to have turned such a blind eye to this theft, this constant theft that has taken place since he took office. To me, that's misconduct. I don't know how a court of law would rule. I don't know how the legislative body would rule. I suppose he has many redundancies he can hide behind and say I don't know what he can say because it happened and he hasn't been responsible. It happened and he hasn't been responsible. And it continues to happen. We have now new potential fraud with the Office of Cannabis Management, who can't seem to get their act together. Licensed and legal marijuana sales got pushed back by months last week, leaving people looking for someone to blame. I don't even want to go into that now. It's breaking my train of thought because Walz said so many obscenely fantastic things in this ridiculous story. I think it was in the Saturday paper. Never overlook Saturday newspapers. As much of a hard time as newspapers have fallen on, there's an uncanny ability to have important stories on Saturday. And this is no exception. Minnesota, this is towards the end of the Saturday story. This is in the Minnesota newspaper. Before I was reading from the St. Paul paper. Minnesota agencies haven't always been skeptical enough of the people and entities receiving public funds, Walz told reporters Friday. He said that they had a tendency of, we want to help. We want to get this money out. So he's painting his administration and his agencies as being predisposed to generosity. And that's why this happened, because we just haven't been skeptical enough. You know, I watched the neighbors come in and out of my driveway for the last 6 months, and it never occurred to me they were stripping it clean because they're just great kids. That's BS and disingenuous on his part. That mindset has opened the door for fraud, Walz said, and it must change. No, it should never have happened, Walz, and it should have changed a long time ago. I think, this is a quote from Walz, I think it's probably a culture of generosity.
Wow.
I think it's a culture of being a little too trusting, Walz said. I don't think those are bad character traits, but I don't think they're necessarily as effective in a time when we're seeing fraud increase. Really? You don't think that's effective during a time of fraud? That's a great conclusion you've reached, Walz. You've got to go. He is not good for the state of Minnesota. The state of Minnesota is going to soon be, if it not already, in financial ruin. Too much fraud has been taking place. No responsibility, no accountability. And again, Walz, you had your own state auditor tell you were in the room, that there was an absence of such a dramatic absence of oversight that this kept happening. And your Department of Education chief that you handpicked, Heather Mueller, she didn't provide any oversight. Mm-hmm. The money had to go through the Department of Education. Then she conveniently left when this started to become evident that there were these terrible frauds taking place.
When the bleep hit the fan.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say except I am very sincere when I think he's a candidate for impeachment. It would take the legislature to get that ball rolling. The grounds would be misconduct. I don't know why it would not be construed as misconduct to have sat there in his seat while this took place day after day, month after month, year after year, and then to pass it off that it's probably a culture of generosity. Well, if it's a culture of generosity, Walz, the taxpayers had no say in it. And I want to continue to believe that I don't think, I'm willing to have my mind change, but I don't think he is a thief. I don't think he personally has lined his pockets. That would conflict with, and I'm being very serious, his Marxist, communist betters who have advised him that no one should have any money unless you take it from someone else. And he's done a thorough job of taking it from the people of Minnesota. This fraud, by the way, is almost it's not. It's so significant, it's not almost. But the fraud goes hand in hand with his blowing the surplus. The fraud goes hand in hand with the obscene tax rates in this state.
Well,
His fraud goes hand in hand with outmigration of the population in this state. He is a ruinous, ruinous character, and he needs to not be the governor of this state. He needs to be impeached. He doesn't have the character to resign. A lot of people might say, oh, Mother of God, look what's happened under my watch. I take full responsibility. I'm so ashamed of myself, I'm going to resign. I'm going to resign. He doesn't have that kind of character. I'm not sure he has much character at all. We learned a lot about his character during his vice presidential run. He doesn't have character. So that leaves impeachment. It's either resignation or impeachment.
Would he win another re-election?
In
this state?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think enough eyes have to be opened by this that it would be impossible for him to. I don't see how it's possible for him to have a continuing political career, although the country is so fouled up. The country is so upside down, and the country has so many things that don't make sense. He may pass himself off as worthy of candidacy again for something, but
Oh, he for sure will.
I hope the people of Minnesota realize what he's done to us, what he's done to you, what he's done to your neighbors, and then to try to sell you on this disingenuous idea that this possibly all stems from the lot of us up here on the Hill. We're just so damn generous we haven't been skeptical enough. That's an outrage. That's an absolute outrage. People in this state are slow to become outraged. But I'm talking to you, euphorians, and people in Liberal Lakes and Diversityville. He has hurt you as much as he's hurt anybody, and he's going to continue to.
Well, it's the topic in general. It's not weed and it's not abortion, so it's not a sexy topic.
Right.
As far as people ignoring it.
It should be a sexy topic. It's your bankroll. It's your wallet.
Right.
It's your checkbook.
Speaking of that, did he throw out any dollar figures? Because we're talking about a new centralized fraud unit and we're talking about adding bodies to the AG's office. So is there a number that corresponds with that?
Yeah, 9 people to the AG office, and I don't know the number of people that would go
The
to.
dollar figure, though, Joe.
A dollar figure? No, we don't have a dollar figure on that.
Well, those easily are what? 6-figure incomes?
Well, look what he did with the family leave. That requires damn near a whole wing of square footage to
I am
deal
not.
with.
I don't mean to sidetrack you. I got
Well, then don't.
Hold on, but this goes with what we're talking about. A guy texted me that listens to this show. 2 people at his office have already taken advantage of that program. It's January 6th.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was even in effect yet.
Well, it starts didn't it start at the first of the year?
Maybe it was a sidetrack. Thank you.
No, but that will be another layer of fraud, guaranteed.
He also proposed increasing penalties for financial crimes involving public assistance. How much is that going to deter the fraud? I don't see it helping at all.
It's not.
Yeah.
And let's parse his sentence and get to the bottom of what he means. I think he thinks he can get away with selling this idea of generosity because he is effecting a kind of kindness to so-called marginalized people. Somalis didn't take 10 steps in United States soil before they learned how to play the race card. So he's got that going for him. And he's got a group of people here who are very bold, very out front in their theft, and he hasn't done anything about it. Let's talk to a Republican. We need real change to crack down on fraud, and that starts with a process that is truly independent of the leadership that allowed fraud to run rampant over the last 5 years. This would be Demuth. Is it Lisa?
Right.
Republican of Cold Spring. House Republicans will be unveiling a comprehensive fraud package that treats this as the serious problem it is. Lisa, I wish you, instead of that, you would begin impeachment proceedings.
Well,
I'm deadly serious. This guy is not fit to be the governor of Minnesota or any other state. No one who has presided over this is fit to be governor. He has exercised no fiduciary responsibility whatsoever. None.
what is the first step in impeaching him? And does that idea have any legs at all?
Well, I did some homework over the weekend. I doubt it has many legs, but it has a foundation to build on, and that's the misconduct. So the question then becomes, the Lisa DeMuths of the world have to get together in a back room at the Capitol and say, can we demonstrate or prove willful misconduct? And it seems to me that Walz is almost admitting the misconduct.
Seems like it.
I mean, he's saying that we had the wrong culture here. I'm putting words in his mouth, but I'm paraphrasing. I think this is him. I think it's probably a culture of generosity. I think it's a culture of being a little too trusting. Well, that wouldn't. I can't imagine that would hold up in a court of law as a replacement for responsibility. Judge, I know $500 million have been stolen, but that's because we're nice people. I can't see that passing the test of law.
It'd be fun to hear him defend that under cross-examination, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Judge, I realize more than $500 million and more. It's happening every day, Judge. I realize that. But, we don't have bad character traits, Judge. Our character traits just aren't effective enough at a time of fraud. I'm sorry, that if we have any law system left, that wouldn't pass.
No.
That would be misconduct. It certainly would be misconduct outside of government.
Yeah. Any one of us pulls that scam, we're in prison.
Yeah, I thought about this all weekend. When I read that Saturday, I thought, but this is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous.
All weekend?
Just as an aside, this press event he had over the weekend,
Oh, my
Friday
God.
he had it. I thought Friday.
invitation only, Joe.
Oh, mother of
What?
God.
No.
No,
We didn't get
invitation only.
Are you serious?
Yeah, right. Yep.
What a freaking joke.
He created a new state fraud investigations unit via executive order. I guess that's to demonstrate how serious he is. And proposed legislative measures aimed at stopping the theft of public funds. You're too late, Walz. The horse left the barn. More than $500 million is gone. The DFL governor's actions come amid growing concerns about fraud. Growing? They've been full-flowered for 3 years. And autism is now a hotbed of fraud. And again, all you have to do is look at the numbers. It's simply unacceptable, Walz added. Well, where were you, Walz? I know you took time out to run around and pretend you were a vice presidential candidate, but where have you been? Combining the resources and expertise of both these agencies, meaning the BCA and the Attorney General's office, will enhance the state's ability to prevent, investigate, and prosecute a broad array of crimes involving fraud. This is BCA Superintendent Drew Evans. It will help stop those people who commit these crimes from continuing to hurt our communities. I don't see how that. I don't see how it will. It's already happened.
Has Ellison weighed in on this, Joe?
Not that I'm aware of.
Shouldn't this be one of his main jobs?
You would think so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
But
'Cause I
somebody
do think
probably
so.
created a faulty mop or something that he's going to bat for.
Right. He's going after Fleet Farm for
Yeah.
something they're not innocent of.
Right. We live in strange times. It's very disheartening to live in this state right now. This did used to be one hell of a state. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling that this state has a different feel to it today. Just a completely different feel to it.
Couldn't agree more.
We got Medicaid fraud, we got autism fraud, we got the food fraud, we got the cannabis fraud, and we have a governor who's not fit to be in control of this. He has shown no competency, no willingness, no sense of responsibility.
On YouTube right now from Dallas, how soon do we see fraud in the fraud department?
Holy S. That's going to happen. 100%.
Yeah. Thank
Hello.
you, Dallas.
No, that will happen. We got to create another body to watch over the fraud department.
Right.
Someone call the fraud department.
You're so right about Saturday papers. This press conference was on Friday, and they always like to put them on Friday before the weekend. So by Monday, it's a non-story. And I didn't see this story really anywhere in the front page of the Star Tribune today, did I?
No, it was on the front page of the
Saturday
paper,
Right.
as it was in the St. Paul Pioneer Press.
Right.
Well, don't you usually get your Saturday paper around Sunday afternoon?
No, for Saturday, I was
call
I was at the gas station by 8:00 getting my papers, and I didn't know this was coming, and I'm really grateful or happy that I went and bought the papers, because that's only the beginning of what I cut out over the weekend. Why don't we take a short time out?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Also on the Saturday front page of the Minnesota paper, which didn't have the score of the Vikings game. That's interesting. Only the biggest game in the franchise's history. Well, maybe the fifth biggest game. You'd have to count the 4 Super Bowl losses as big games.
41 zip.
Atlanta championship game. Maybe
Probably the most significant regular season game.
There you go.
Thank you. Also on the front page of the Saturday Minnesota paper was a very interesting story about a developer who has had a moratorium placed on his plans to build a Lino Lakes housing community for Muslims, or for Somalis, I guess, complete with a mosque. And it turns out that the guy is a crook. So his name is Faraz Mohammed. Okay, alleged crook. He's been squaring off with city leaders and officials in federal court over a lawsuit in which Mohammed accused them of Islamic phobic discrimination. As I said, many of our Somali brothers and sisters are completely on the square. Many of them didn't take 10 steps onto soil in America before they figured out the race card. In fact, many of them might be handed a card when they got off And it's on one side of the card it said, use this, and on the back it said racism. Because it doesn't take these people long to come up with this idea that if anything goes wrong with what they want, it's because of Islamophobic discrimination. But then when this story, gratefully enough, broke down the guy's past, and it's been a trail of criminal behavior. And this felt scammy to me from the beginning, Lino Lakes resident Melissa Schultz said in an interview, echoing a complaint aired frequently at the many public meetings held about the project throughout 2024. Mohammed restated his confidence in the project in an email to the Minnesota newspaper. He called the claims of the recent lawsuit he settled with a client frivolous and said his team is committed to working honestly, transparently, and collaboratively with the city of Lino Lakes. And he's got an architect who weighed in. Let me turn the page. There's some really deep things to be mined here. Because right off the bat, what he's trying to do is portray the residents of Lino Lakes in a poor light. He's trying to just blanket cover them with the idea that they're Islamophobic. And that isn't the case.
One size fits all.
His architect, whose name is Dean Dovalis, said the project and its founder, he defended the developer and said the criticisms of Mohammed's past are driven by opposition to the Muslim-focused development. So a guy wants to come in and get all these permits and take people's down payments and get their money, but we're not supposed to look at his track record.
No. Look the other way.
If you think there was a white developer, do you think he'd be put through the ringer looking at his bona fides? Of course. The architect's fighting for his job. He wants this to go through. It was what I call premeditated murder of a project because they didn't like the idea of an Islamic community, Dovalis said. See, that's what's going to get sold. Because we're slowly but surely devolving into a society of political identity rather than law, rather than rules and regulations. We're sliding into, well, you get to do it because you're black. You don't get to do it because you're Hispanic. You get to do it because you're white. You don't get to do it because you're red. BS. We have laws that are supposed to do this.
Right.
Mohammed's company, Zikar Holdings, purchased the former Robinson Sod farm in March with the intention of turning it into a large mixed-use development that would bring in an estimated 1,200 to 1,300 homeowners. It includes more than 400 homes for sale or rent, a shopping area, and a mosque. The council voted 4-1 in June to put a moratorium on all residential development in the city's northwest quadrant until August of 2025. The city argued a moratorium was necessary to allow the time to create a new master plan for that area of the city. The Zikar Holdings lawsuit alleges the moratorium was unfairly imposed because officials don't want a project with Mohammed described as Muslim friendly. No, they want a moratorium because it's a big deal. It's a big project, and your past could not be shadier. How's that? Amid the accusations of Islamophobia, his background became an argument for why the proposal should be denied. He was convicted of theft by swindle in 2013 when he was handling accounting duties for a company called Forever Green in Eden Prairie. The owner discovered that Mohammed had written 16 unauthorized checks to himself and 4 electronic payments totaling $20,000, according to the complaint. Mohammed took a plea deal that reduced the conviction from a felony to a misdemeanor. He admitted to forging checks in the written guilty plea, but said in an interview last year that he believes it was a wrongful conviction.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't everybody?
It ain't me.
It's like being in Shawshank. Everybody was innocent, right?
in October of 2023, the Minnesota company Royal Priesthood, LLC, sued Mohammed, alleging that a company he owned was paid $62,000 to complete renovations on a Minneapolis apartment building that was never finished. Royal Priesthood owner Olele Oleg Baju said in an interview that Mohammed lied when he said he was a licensed contractor in Minnesota. The lawsuit alleged that Mohammed's company never repaid the money, that only part of the work was completed on the building's roof, and that the work was done incorrectly. And this guy wants to go up in Lionel Lakes and create his own mini
Right.
city.
Well, let him, huh? We can't be racist.
People should do their due diligence on this character. Oleg Baju was repaid $25,000 of the money he lost, but he finds it worrisome to have Mohammed leading a project as large as Medina Lakes. So it's Oleg Baju who's saying, I suggest people do their due diligence to decide if he's someone they should trust to do a big project like that. His lawsuit accused Mohammed of going by a different name to confuse, mislead, or otherwise defraud those he does business with. Mohammed said that he began using a different name, last name, Yusuf, because he struggled to find work with the theft by swindle conviction. That's how it works, Mohammed. We're a country of laws. You can't commit your crimes and then pretend that it's all right because you're a Somali immigrant. That's not the way it works. That's the way we're trying to make it work. Or they're trying to make it work. What a bunch of BS. Go away. I wouldn't trust this guy to put up a fence, much less build an entire planned community.
Right.
Oh, the lawsuit, according to Mohammed, is frivolous and unfounded. Well, no, it isn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't have paid back the guy 25 of the 62 grand you own him. He has never had a contract. He's never been licensed as a contractor in Minnesota. That's a frequent criticism from Medina Lakes detractors. James Honerman, a spokesman for the State Department of Labor and Industry, said a recent theft by swindle conviction would likely make becoming a licensed contractor difficult, since applicants are required to submit a background check. However, Mohammed is allowed to act as a developer if he contracts with a licensed builder to do the work, Honerman said. Our role is to conceive, finance, and manage the project, including hiring and supervising the general contractor. Okay. Walls, these are the people that stole your money. I don't think I'm out of line saying that. You're hiding behind this fake idea that you were generous. No, you were dealing with some real top-drawer scammers who learned the art of graft and grift really, really quick. I don't want to go on with this. It stands to reason that the Lionel Lake City Council has every reason in the world to say, hold on a minute here. This guy is not exactly on the up and up. Do you people really want to start writing checks to him to have him build your house?
Is it the
I wouldn't let him put oil on a driveway.
I was lying yesterday, today I'm telling the truth.
Right.
Yeah. Trust me now.
Do you think he'd receive the same amount of scrutiny if this wasn't a planned Muslim-style community? Because I bring it up because he bought the Robinson sod farm in March before any of this was announced.
Did that deal go through without
It
scam?
says it went through, but about that deal, and somebody in real estate might have to correct me if I'm wrong. I've assumed in the past that when a developer buys a tract of land that he wants to develop, the closing, the purchase agreement closing, is all based on getting the okay from the local government to let this happen. I've witnessed this happening in my life before, where somebody's bought a bunch of lakeshore. The closing is dependent on getting the okay from the local government. When that happens, they close the deal, development starts.
Well, two things. One, that would seem to suggest to me that the Lionel Lakes residents were not immediately predisposed to Islamophobia. In other words, oh, Mr. Mohammed bought this place. Okay. It's only upon looking at his background that they realize, well, wait a minute. This guy you shouldn't have this guy build you a fence.
Right.
This is the annual story of the guy who comes over and digs a hole in your yard to put the swimming pool in, and you never see him again.
Right.
We get that story once a summer on Channel 4.
Yeah, yeah. I would just think if you're a developer, you would want to have all those details ironed out before you write a check or try to get a mortgage, a loan for this
Wasn't
property.
there another planned
There was down in
Lakeville?
Lakeville.
Was it Lakeville
John,
or
can you look
Northfield?
that one up?
Lakeville.
It was
was
right
Lakeville.
by the Mann Theater, if I'm not mistaken, right off 35.
What happened to that one?
I don't recall, but I
I
do
believe
remember
it
us
also got
discussing it.
shut down.
Okay. I think it was. I can look it up.
Maybe as an example of a generous culture, with the taxpayers of Minnesota could provide that money for the development.
Sure, that'd be nice.
Hope your garage door is working during this.
I have the name of it. It was supposed to be called the Nalasha Development.
Okay, what is that on hold?
It has a website that I know. I'm trying to see if there's any news related to that.
Well, while you're looking that up, let me tell you that I hope your garage door is in fine fettle, because we're in a cold spell.
Yeah, you're not
You
kidding.
don't want that baby to act up on you, or if it is, get a hold of Precision Door MN. They'll take care of it straight away. The emails I get are fantastic on these people. They really have warmed the hearts of GLers. They don't charge more for weekends. They keep you informed. We're on the way. We'll be there in 20 minutes. They usually have all the parts they need in the trucks. They don't have to run back to the shop, and they're really, really good people. Also, if you need a new door, they're your outfit, Precision Door. They have models for every budget. The garage door consultation is free. You can put this number in your contact. You need a garage door guy. Your garage door guy should be Precision Door MN, 612-263-6985. If you want to go on the interwebs and book an appointment or book a new garage door consultation, go to Precision Door MN, one word, precisiondoormn.com.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Now what? That's what I get from GLers when they write me that something's wrong with their car, their lawnmower, their snowblower. They just went and bought some Seafoam. Now what? How do I use it? Well, first thing I do is I try to shirk responsibility, and fob them off on the website, seafoamworks.com. So then I'm not, guilty of screwing things up. But generally speaking, if you're just throwing some in a daily driver, or say you want to do like Joe does, he puts it right into his gas can before he fills up his snowblower. Use 1 ounce per gallon. For cleaning, though, something that hasn't run a while and you really want to flush it out, add 2 or more ounces per gallon on a very low tank. The more you add, the better it cleans. But I got to warn you, if you're going to dump it right down the yap, right into the carburetor, you're going to see that thing smoke like crazy. It's a big, billowing white smoke. It's like being at a Pink Floyd
And
concert.
it smells good.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it smells like America. And it doesn't matter what kind of engine you have. If it's just a one-lunger, that's fine. If it's a triple, maybe an old greasy triple snowmobile, that's fine. V8, V6, straight 6, flathead. I can't think of them all, but yes, and yes. And that goes for diesel. Just add Seafoam to the engine and watch it perform miracles. It helps everything run better, last longer, keeps it out of the shop. The mockery of the mechanic. You don't have to worry about that with Seafoam. It's available everywhere. If you don't want to leave the house, what was that website I just gave you? It was seafoamworks.com. Order it in. A wonderful product in a world of bad gas. Our friend, Seafoam.
John, before your news, would you update us on the current conditions of the proposed, what would it be called? A Somali development, a Muslim development, an Islamic development?
The Nalasha development is what it's
housing
called.
development in Lakeville.
Yes, this is from October 7th, 2024, so that would be 3 months ago, 3 months ago tomorrow, in fact. The Attorney General's office in Minnesota filed a civil lawsuit against Nalasha and its owner, Abdiwali Abdullahi. That lawsuit accuses the company of accepting large sum of money from customers after dramatically misrepresenting the development. The lawsuit says Nalasha violated the Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act, the Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act, and the False Statement in Advertisement Act. And if you go on to read more of the story, apparently they had promised, as they started collecting $25,000 from everybody, all the families that wanted to get in on this, they took that money, said things would be done, some homes by November of 2023 and some by May of 2024. And as of this writing in October of 2024, the Attorney General's office says not even a third of the money that they need to build all this has been collected and no work has started. So in other words, people 2 years before had given the $25,000 and there had been no movement.
So here's what's interesting. I looked up their website, Johnny, and it has, property starting from $375,000 or whatever. If you look up the address of this, and it's on Kenrick Avenue in Lakeville, I know exactly where this is. It's right off 35 because there's a little development there. Sometimes I take that on my way home. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there.
There's been no fraud, John. There's been no deception. That's racism.
Are you an Islamophobe?
You need three things to have a country. You need a border.
Yep.
You need a common language. And you need a culture. Our culture used to be one of laws. That was a strong component of American culture. Well, right now, you don't have a border to speak of. What was the other one I said? I'm standing.
Common language.
The common language, you go get a driver's license test now. There's 14 languages to choose from. And what's the other one, Stan?
Laws.
And laws. And culture. And our culture is in tatters. It's in tatters. Well, I just think that we're in big trouble, but...
If you were one of the people duped into sending in a $25,000 check, is there any chance that you can get it back?
I would bet not.
But we don't know for certain.
We don't know.
And there's no update on where the Attorney General's lawsuit is at, so I'm assuming nothing's been set trial-wise, etc.
Well, if Walls would dedicate another additional 10 or 15 employees to Somali housing development fraud, maybe you could get to the bottom of it.
Speaking of the governor, he did issue a statement this morning on his social media account. Would you like 10 seconds of it?
Sure.
Welcome to the land of 10,000 rings. Game on, Minnesota.
He's thrilled to announce that the 2026 World Junior Hockey Championships are coming to the Twins.
Hey.
Game on.
Here's John Haidt in his newsroom.
Thank you, Joe. This news is brought to you by North American Banking Company. The Minnesota Republican Party wants that special election planned for a state House of Representatives seat in District 40B to be pushed back. They've petitioned the state Supreme Court to step in and stop the special election called by Governor Walz for later this month. Right now, Republicans have a one-seat majority in the state House, but there's also a vacant seat previously held by a Democrat. You might remember we talked about this. Curtis Johnson won the race for the seat in the November election, but he was disqualified when a judge ruled he didn't actually live in that district. The 2025 legislative session is set to begin January 14th, and Walz called for the special election to take place January 28th. Republicans are saying the earliest the special election should happen is February 5th because state law requires waiting 22 days after the session to make that decision. In response, Walz says that state law requires him to call a special election as soon as possible, and that, in his words, Republicans are trying to use the courts to prevent Democratic legislators from being seated. A deceased man found in a car that went over the edge of an embankment and into the Mississippi River Sunday morning, according to Park Police. Authorities responded to the crash near 33rd Street and West River Parkway around 7:51 in the morning. There they found a vehicle at the bottom of the embankment, partially in the river. A deceased man was found inside the vehicle. It was retrieved by fire crews. Hennepin County Medical Examiner says they'll identify the body and the exact cause of death. A portion of West River Parkway was closed due to that incident.
Tell me where that is.
I can't picture
Yeah.
that. 33rd Street and West River Parkway. Isn't that a long drop down to the river?
Straight down.
Yeah.
Wait
That's a
minute.
long drop.
John, the way you laid that news story out, this sounds like Sopranos style.
I don't think they know, They're not sure.
There's
what
a
happened.
beach down there called Longfellow Beach. But you've got to be ready to climb those stairs back up to the top. if
Okay,
you're
are
going
we
down there.
north of the Lake Street Bridge or south?
We're south of the Lake Street Bridge.
And before the Highland Bridge, the Ford
And
Bridge.
North of the Ford Bridge. And there's a little parking lot at about 36th or so.
I now have it in my mind. Thank you.
That curve, it's just north
Yep.
of there.
Yep. All right.
Minneapolis City Council is hearing details today of proposed police reforms, and members are expected to vote to approve a federal consent decree agreement in a closed-door meeting. It's been about a 4-year process that started after George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police in 2020. The city hasn't shared the tentative agreement, but based on other consent decrees in other U.S. cities, it could involve changes to the use of force of bias-aware training. This comes a year and a half after DOJ investigation found civil rights violations by Minneapolis and its police department. It also found that MPD was using unjustified deadly force against Black and Native people. The goal is to get the consent decree filed in federal court and signed by a judge by January 20th, partly because President-elect Trump's previous administration had put limits on consent decrees. The Minnesota Department of Human Rights has a separate court agreement with both the city and the MPD. This requires officers to work to de-escalate and ban officers from using force as a punishment.
I'm sure it'll all work out in that meeting today. You have that thing I sent you from Robin Wansley, the tweet that she issued?
Oh, yeah.
You guys see this over the weekend?
No.
Minneapolis' status as a sanctuary city will be tested under Trump. We need leadership ready to defend our communities. Trump's election means fascist and white supremacist vigilantes will escalate their attacks on our immigrant, Black, brown, and LGBTQ neighbors. Well, Robin, I wouldn't worry about it if it's this cold. I don't think they'll come out in nearly the strength that you think they will.
But she's going to be one of the people in that meeting that John just laid out.
I really
seems
think we have some really great council people.
That's fear-mongering. I mean,
Of course it is.
that doesn't make any sense.
Well, she's never made any sense.
There's people that have their green card, no, their citizenship. They're here legally.
Yeah.
They're citizens of the United States. They weren't born here, but they're now citizens that think that Trump is going to kick them out of the country.
Plus, you people don't understand Trump. He doesn't do half the stuff he says he's going to do.
Right.
He never gets around to it. I wouldn't worry about it if I were you.
With all due respect.
I really wouldn't. In fact, I would say that what Robin tweeted here is the least of our problems.
I'm more
That's
worried about
true.
the embargo stuff.
Yeah,
The trade stuff.
right.
Minnesota's new blackout license plates had a great first year of sales. More than 250,000 vehicles in the state now have the blackout plates that feature a simple design of white letters and numbers on a black background. The plates first went on sale January 1st, 2024. Minnesota's Driver and Vehicle Services Division reports in the first year of availability, it sold 256,387 of the plates. That exceeds expectations that were already high. Last spring, DVS officials said they expected to sell about 160,000 of the plates. The blackout plates require a minimum $30 annual contribution, which goes to support the operations of DVS, which is self-funded. Officials said strong sales of the new plates can help avert increases in filing fees for all license plates. They were introduced to Minnesota after several other states, including Iowa, saw the popularity of similar designs. The blackout plates were among 9 new specialized plates that went on sale in Minnesota. 6 of the new designs were for Minnesota pro sports teams. Here's how the breakdown went for sales.
God help us.
The Vikings plates, 5,787 sold.
Glad I don't have one of those today.
The Wild, 2,305 plates sold.
Yeah.
The Twins, 2,015 plates sold. The Timberwolves, 1,422 plates. Minnesota United FC, 666.
There we go.
And the,
Jeez. Wait.
How about
Hold
the
on.
frost? We got any frosters?
Wait a minute. What was the number for the soccer?
The 600.
6.
666.
666.
Okay. Keep going, John.
Minnesota Lynx, 165 plates.
Oh.
Money raised by sports team plates goes toward the charitable foundation set up or designated by each organization. Minnesota also introduced Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Office license plates with 3,477 sold in the first year, and the new Lions Club International plates, 195 were sold. Now, the start of this year does bring 1 new specialized license plate to Minnesota. Rotary International plates are now available for purchase.
I got it.
John, I have 2 observations.
I've got it
Yes,
too,
sir.
Chris.
Go
I bet
ahead.
we're thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Go ahead, Joe.
One, I don't like the black plates for some reason. I don't like
think
them.
they look cool.
I don't like them aesthetically for some reason. I don't know.
Is it because it doesn't match the color of
I
the
don't.
vehicle?
No, I have a black car. It would probably look neat on there, but I don't know. I just don't like
Well,
them.
you're racist.
Yeah, I guess.
What's your idea, Chris?
GL.
Yeah.
GL
All
plates.
proceeds go to Such.
Now he's in favor.
Now, my
Mr.
second
Anti-Fraud.
observation, John, early in the story,
Yeah.
you said DVS is self-funded,
That's correct.
meaning just
everything-
the satellite bureaus are.
Everything comes from the sale of license
Tabs and
plates,
whatnot.
Yeah,
tabs.
we're funding them.
Yeah, well.
Okay, wait a minute now.
Hold up.
Hold on now.
Here we go.
That's one of the most important functions of government is to license your car.
Right.
Right? We all have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be licensed ourselves.
And it's not handled by the government. It's handled by the private sector.
That's how it works.
No, it's handled by MnDOT, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
So when I go to the
I can
license
hear the
bureau,
emails being typed.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me retract what I just said. I didn't say that, GLers.
well, anyway, I do it by mail, so whatever.
So my question is, does it cost you extra when you renew?
Good question.
I don't know.
Oh, well, $30 every year for the blackout. It's
Well, wait a minute.
You have to pay $30 every year.
That makes sense because remember, you guys, I told you, a week or 2 ago, I went to a kiosk at a Cub Foods to
Yep.
renew my tabs.
Sure. Yep.
Isn't the greatest scam, and I think you can confirm this, Joe, the classic car plates? Because don't you pay once and then never pay again?
And I don't consider that a scam. I consider that
That's
a great
I'm worried
deal.
that-
Yeah,
I'm
wait a
worried
minute.
They're going to find out about it.
Oh, it's
Because I'm
wonderful.
just counting the minutes till that truck is, it's got to be 20 years old or something?
Yeah, but no, 25. But the proviso is you're only supposed to drive them for brief distances or in parades or something. So if I ever got stopped in, say, Iowa, I guess I'd have to say it was a hell of a long parade because here I am.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
old
Where'd
school.
everybody go?
Took a
I'm
left.
putting it up on blocks, Joe, and then putting it in reverse and then going in to watch a TV show.
Ferris
I
Bueller.
don't think that works anymore, does
No,
it?
it doesn't.
You can't roll them back.
No.
Why don't we take a quick break here and have some national and international news after we hear from Mr. Reavers.
Thank you, Johnny. North American Banking Company. They are back with Garage Logic in 2025, and I'm so happy to continue this relationship because they've become my bank. Why is that, you ask? Well, I'll tell you.
Why?
It's because
Yeah, why?
I was tired of just being a number to my big national bank. So I walked in, I knew right away that this was going to be a great relationship. And you can do the same thing. Here's the deal. They have 6 locations to serve you. I frequent either Roseville or 50th in France, but you can also see them in Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. North American Banking Company offers all of the services as the other banks, whether you're looking to buy a home, finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been thinking about. My friends at North American Banking Company are going to be able to help you out. They offer the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but you are going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And they are also locally owned and operated. That means loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. So this helps you business owners solve problems quickly and expand your business with confidence. Your first step should be checking them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
How's that new music working out for 2025?
It's still being worked on.
All right.
It's coming.
All right.
It'll be there soon. Don't worry.
All right.
In national and international news, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's stepping down once the Liberal Party has chosen a successor, bringing his time leading Canada to a tumultuous end. Trudeau, who became Liberal leader in 2013 and Prime Minister in the fall of 2015, announced his long-awaited decision outside his official residence, Rideau Cottage, this morning. Trudeau said he also asked Governor General Mary Simon to prorogue Parliament until March 24th, and she granted the request. Did I say prorogue? That's what I have
think you
typed,
did.
but that's not what I meant, of course. You wanted to.
Would he be in Ottawa? Is that the capital?
I don't know. Is that where
I'll look it
government
up.
seat is? His decision sets off a competitive leadership race to replace him and find a contender to take on the Liberals' key rival, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
Oh,
in the
go
next
Pierre.
federal election.
It is in Ottawa, the southeastern Ontario, Joe. You were correct.
Trudeau has been under mounting pressure to resign amid sinking public opinion polling. At least 24 individual MPs and several regional caucuses, including Atlanta, Canada, Quebec, and Ontario, have called for him to step down since the holiday break. His political future was put into a tailspin when Chrystia Freeland, long seen as his top lieutenant, resigned as finance minister and deputy prime minister last month, the day she was scheduled to present the fall economic statement.
Did you guys know that in Ottawa they ice skate to the hockey game?
I'm aware of that.
Cool.
Interesting.
Cool.
Joe said that about a week ago.
We've had kind of a fun winter up here despite the lack of snow. Everybody, they're strapping on their skates on the shore of a lake and just skating the whole lake.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I did that once in the fog on
Oh,
White
boy.
Bear. And
That's ballsy.
a lake I know more than my own hand.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up anywhere near where I started.
Oh, boy.
You didn't happen to run up there over the weekend, did you, for the races?
No. What
The-
races?
The sailboat racing?
Oh, Tom Jewell sent me a nifty video
Yeah.
of a DN ice boat out on White Bear Lake, but I didn't see any races. It was just the one boat being followed by a drone.
Okay. Because we have races up here on Lake Christina.
Well, I would
and
hope so, yeah.
It's a trip to watch these guys. They got to be doing 300 miles an hour.
Well,
it's
not that
crazy.
fast, but yeah.
Okay, 450 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Lawmakers gathering this hour in a winter storm in Washington, D.C. to certify the results of the 2024 election. The city at the highest level of security, nothing like what happened 4 years ago when Trump loyalists rioted at the Capitol after his loss in the 2020 election. A president-elect has said at times he may pardon some of those rioters, but he has been vague in the past couple of weeks on the number and who might be pardoned.
I'm really behind the curve on this January 6th deal because you've got half the country saying it wasn't a big deal and the FBI was tricking people. And I saw it. They were breaking windows. What am I supposed to believe?
What were
Looked
they?
like a big deal to me.
Yeah, what were they trying to do?
They're trying to stop
the-
the Congress from certifying that Joe Biden was the new president.
So they wanted to break into chambers.
Well, they wanted to get to Pence because just like today, Kamala will have to do it and prevent him from putting his stamp on the election.
114 Capitol Police reported injuries on January 6, 2020, pushed downstairs, trampled and sprayed with pepper spray. Numerous concussions reported by law enforcement. One officer suffered a heart attack after being attacked with a stun gun. One officer, Brian Sicknick, suffered a stroke the day after and died. And 4 officers committed suicide 2 months after January 6th.
Well, it doesn't sound like a day of love. So there.
So how will the news treat this day 4 years later? What are we getting away from the...
CNN spent the morning just showing you all of the film from 2001.
Yeah, they're still hammering on it, Matthew.
or 2021?
2021.
What did I say?
2001.
Yeah, 2021.
More info on the perpetrators of those 2 incidents that took place last week. The explosion in a vehicle outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. The man who blew up the car, killing himself, was an active member Green Beret, Matthew Levelsberger. He left what are being called manifestos on his iPhone. They denounce Democrats and demand that they be culled from Washington by violence if necessary, and express the hope that his own death will serve as a kind of bell clap for a national rebirth of masculinity under the leadership of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Bobby Kennedy Jr. Speaking to journalists on Friday, Las Vegas FBI Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans said Livelsberger had been struggling with PTSD and other issues before making the manifestos and carrying out the attack. Meanwhile, the man who drove his truck into a crowd in New Orleans, Shamsud Din Jabbar, captured a video on his phone in the dark right before he hit the people. He said, "I wanted to record this message for my family. I wanted you to know I joined ISIS earlier this year." He then added a message saying he had thought about killing the family before his terroristic attack, but decided not to. Those words among Jabbar's last before he plowed that rented pickup truck through New Year's crowds on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing 14 people before he died in a shootout with police. The violence revealed a secret radicalization that confounded his loved ones who knew him as a decorated Army veteran. New details from recordings, interviews, and public records trace his growing discontent with American society and a shift toward what was at first a more conservative version of Islam and then something much darker.
I have a growing discontent with America, but I'm not going to do what he did.
Say that was a bit extreme.
Would you guys, would you consider this the winter of your discontent?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
Well done. Well done, Kenny.
Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel are filing a federal lawsuit challenging the Biden administration's decision to block a proposed nearly $15 billion deal for Nippon to acquire Pittsburgh-based U.S. Steel. The suit, filed today in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, alleges it was a political decision and violated the company's due process. Biden on Friday decided to stop the takeover after federal regulators deadlocked on whether or not to approve it. President-elect Trump, who campaigned on reviving U.S. heavy industry and last month wrote on his Truth social messaging platform that he was totally against the once great and powerful U.S. Steel being bought by a foreign company, so Biden's veto unlikely to be overturned by President-elect Trump.
Well, this is a case of who do you root for, isn't it, basically?
Who do you root for?
Sorry, he's not.
I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
Who do you love, I think is what you're trying to say.
The first congestion pricing plan in the U.S. went into effect yesterday, with drivers heading into a large swath of Manhattan paying a $9 fee during peak hours. The program, meant to reduce notoriously gridlocked traffic and encourage the use of public transit, is the culmination of an effort first proposed by then-Mayor Michael Bloomberg in 2007. The pricing zone extends from the bottom of Central Park to the island's southern tip, with the charges dropping by 75% during overnight hours. City officials say the toll is expected to generate $500 million in revenue each year over the first 3 years, which will then be reinvested in public transportation infrastructure. Manhattan, one of the most densely populated counties in the U.S., the average taxi speeds in Midtown sank nearly below 5 miles an hour early last year. One analysis pegged New York City as the world's most congested metro area, with drivers losing 101 hours due to traffic delays every year.
John, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was wonderful.
I liked it too, John.
Did you see where Biden has quietly authorized a water heater ban?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
It's a ban on natural gas water heaters as part of the lame duck president's climate agenda. And that could really hurt the elderly and the poor, who he doesn't care about. He doesn't care about the American people. Under the policy, new non-condensing natural gas-fired water heaters will be prohibited for sale starting in 2029 due to concerns about carbon dioxide emissions. He's dreadful.
Is that reversible?
I hope so. He also...
He's going out in a blaze of glory, isn't he?
Well, he also... he's banning offshore oil and gas drilling in most U.S. coastal waters, a last-minute effort to block possible action by the incoming Trump administration to expand drilling.
Yeah, and in that case, and I can't confirm it, I did read a couple of days ago that move is not reversible, but I haven't confirmed that.
That's just a middle finger to you and me, the American public. It'll be the people who take care of him in the media will posit this as some example of revenge towards Trump, but it's revenge towards us if this comes to pass.
Well, they're selling it, Joe, as keeping our shorelines and water and whatnot pristine,
Right.
in the event of spills.
Well, Biden is.
The water heater thing really has got me torqued because it seems like nobody really looked into the long-term effects in that, and our dependence on electricity is only going to double because of that.
Mm-hmm. All for the climate, which has nothing to do with the climate, but is part of Biden acquiescing to his masters, whomever they may be.
Let me ask you something. In the case of the water heater thing, is it possible for that to be unenforceable? Do you think that outlets would still be allowed to sell them? Or they could sell them and not fear retribution?
Well, no,
or do you think they wouldn't even be available?
I don't think they'll be available. Look you can't buy a scooter for a kid because it might have PFAS.
They are available, though. They're there.
Well, I think the owner can't sell them.
Yeah, and that doesn't count for private parties, does it?
No. It's what are tankless water heaters?
It's just the pipe itself is heated.
They're hanging on the wall.
Well, where's the supply of water if there ain't no tank?
It taps into the normal place where your water comes from. In your case, it's city water. It comes right through your floor, the wall of your basement, and it branches off. One goes to your cold water. The other branch goes to your water heater. And instead of having a big water heater tank, you've got a heater that just heats up a section of pipe. Yeah.
But it's not good if you have a large dependency on water.
Or a
high
large
use. Right.
Yeah, a large family that, if you got 5 people showering in the morning, it's kind of tough.
If you've got a lot of people living with you, you're probably not going to work that. You're going to want the big. You're going to want the big bucket. You're going to want the double bucket.
Twisting the knife, aren't you?
Yes.
You're going to need about a 700-gallon tank.
Yeah, go right ahead. Call Welter.
I hear the tankless ones don't show much gratitude. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
God, that's terrible.
I was saving that
Tank
through that
hurts.
entire conversation.
That was good.
Oh, tankless.
Why don't we take a short time
Or
out?
if you're living a life of luxury like I am, you made the decision to go with Hofferman water.
Right? Does that heat up?
Oh, boy.
You can make it warm.
Does
Now,
it
the
ever.
water comes right out of, in your case, the street, and then goes right to your
Correct.
water purification system.
Correct.
Before you start guzzling it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes through 2 different, what we call the osmosis treatments.
And it truly is a miracle. Those guys are amazing.
It is. And I've been a customer of Connecticut and Hofferman water for a number of years now, and it's made an amazing difference in the quality of my water, and it will do the same thing for you. But your first step is you've got to get on that schedule to have them come out for that free water analysis and tell you just how god-awful your water is. You do that one of 2 ways. You can call them directly at 612-895-2440 or visit their website, which is HoffermanWater.com. Either way, you can book that appointment. But if you go on the website, you can also see every single water treatment system that they have to offer at HoffermanWater.com. Listen, bad water can affect almost every aspect inside of your home. So make the switch. 612-895-2440 or visit HoffermanWater.com. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Please do me a favor and mention that you heard about them on the Garage Logic podcast.
not stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
Well, another interesting piece in the Sunday Minnesota paper, which today did not have the Viking score. Page 6A, big Washington Post story. Apparently, there's an increase in younger people experiencing kidney stones. And the subhead is experts suspect ultra-processed foods and climate change are behind the increase. And I'll just cut to the climate change part. I'll give you processed foods. The more I read about processed foods, the more I realize they're the root of much evil. Right?
They wreak some havoc.
But are you kidding me? The climate? Well, climate-related disruptions can lead to food insecurity. All right. The story is, it's a Washington Post piece. I read the whole thing. It's limited to the United States. They don't bring in what's happening in Afghanistan or Germany or Spain or whatever.
They eat less processed foods?
So I'm thinking there is no food insecurity in the United States.
No.
We have got $250 million of fraud to prove it.
Right.
There's just no. Climate-related disruptions can lead to food insecurity, pushing families toward diets high in salt, sugar, and processed foods. Okay. I'm sorry for that. When combined with inadequate hydration,
What does that mean? You're not drinking enough?
water. These dietary options significantly elevate the risk of kidney stone formation as fresh, healthy food becomes less accessible because of food deserts and high cost. The likelihood of kidney stones in children increases. David Sass, a pediatric nephrologist at the Mayo Clinic who studied kidney stones, said his research finds a link between kidney stones and urban heat islands.
UHIs?
Densely populated swatches in city packed with buildings and extensive paved surfaces that typically experience higher temps compared with suburban or rural regions. Well, we're just one sentence short of saying this is racism.
No, in my version here, let me read the sentence I was just looking at. The concentration of UHIs often coincides with historic redlining practices in the United States, potentially contributing to observed disparities in kidney health among minoritized populations.
Well, the story does admit that bringing climate change into it and studying it is in its infancy, meaning
So we're still spitballing.
they
this?
just threw it against the wall, knowing the Washington Post would eat it up. And here's what I want to say. Again, the story's limited to United States children. Every kid I know has a minimum of 6 water bottles. They're
Yes.
either Taylor
Yep.
Swift water bottles or they're
Yeti or-
they got all these water bottles. These kids, the modern kid, when I go to a kid's game or something and watch these kids, the amount of emphasis placed on hydration is beyond my comprehension.
Let me tell you something. When I'm sitting through 6 basketball games at
Yeah.
the new Prague High School like I did yesterday, I got to tell you, I got a water bottle too.
That's right.
you got
So
But that's Dad's special water.
Yeah. You
look
can't-
like water.
Can't have any kid.
That's a foul!
Yeah, yeah.
No, but this is preposterous. There is no one in this country who could be denied a drink of water. That to say that this is a hydration problem is, and I'm not going to say this. David J. Sass, for example, a nephrologist at the Mayo, I don't think he's a Mysterian trying to bring about the end of Western civilization. Unfortunately, he's become a useful idiot, and I don't mean that David Sass is an idiot. I mean the the way the term has been meant to be understood. He is unknowingly participating in this fallacy that climate change must be brought to a halt because, well, A, it doesn't exist. I mean, it always has, always will. And B, David, it has nothing to do with the climate. So I don't know where you're getting this BS. But anyway, how did those of us my age make it this far?
That's a great question.
He drank water from the hose.
Yeah.
We drank a lot of water from the hose.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the best water.
Where they at now?
Yeah.
I put the hose away.
Okay. Where the hose at?
So anyway,
So, Dr.
never temperature.
Dr. Souchere,
yes.
I have a question for you, Doctor.
Yes.
Well, what is the main cause then of kidney stones? If it's not.
I don't know, and I don't wish this upon a child, but maybe it's poor eating.
The great thing about this conversation is I've just been thinking, as your children aged and became the kids you used to have, and they moved out of the house, you'd think that would give a guy and his bride a little free time. But in your case,
Nope.
the amount of kids now that are in your house is, what, tripled, quadrupled to what it was when you had kids?
According to the Mayo Clinic, Joe,
Oh, okay. You got her.
you should foods that are high in salt. So you should limit canned foods, prepackaged meals, adding sodium to your food.
I'm in agreement with all that. That makes sense.
Sodium can raise the levels of calcium in your urine, and not drinking enough fluids, not staying hydrated and drinking enough fluid is probably the biggest risk factor for kidney stones.
It goes on to say lack of butter, lack of gravy.
No butter.
These things.
No gravy.
Well, but to say
Gravy.
this, to say that climate change has a role in the incidence of young people developing kidney stones is like saying everyone between the ages of 15 and 30 who has a heart murmur at one time or another wore leather shoes.
Right.
There's no cause and effect here. It's just become this go-to grab-it excuse that we throw into everything now, and it's ridiculous.
But yeah, the great thing about the leather shoe theory is you would have to have two test groups, right? One that wore leather shoes, one that didn't wear leather shoes. In the case of climate change and kidney stones, everybody's exposed to climate change.
There is no test group.
You can't find a test group.
There is no test group.
I'm on a website called the National Library of Medicine, which is part of the National Center for Biotechnical Information, and you're going to be dismayed to find out their recent findings. The relationship between heat and kidney stones is well supported. They don't give us any source material.
Well, is
here. They
our
just-
kidney stones rampant in sub-Sahara Africa?
Good question. They don't say that. It's just UTIs, urban heat, or UHIs.
Kidney stones prevalent in the Middle East?
No, it's just urban heat islands.
Oh, it's just this country, Kenny.
Yeah.
You have to go to the doctor.
We need to do better.
The doctor hut.
Because everything the United States does is wrong
Yeah.
and unfair.
We need to change.
And
How has there never been a cover band for the Rolling Stones called the Kidney Stones? Huh?
I don't know.
That'd be pretty
That'd
good.
be pretty good.
A bunch of old guys up there complaining about not being hydrated.
Right.
I got
Don't we already have
interesting-
that with the Rolling Stones?
Keith Richards is alive.
Well, that's thanks to cocaine and heroin.
Well, bring it on, baby.
You know what he did, though? He stayed hydrated.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
That's why he's alive.
Joe, my hubby has been a listener for years. I am by default. We are sitting on our patio in St. Martin, looking out at Anguilla. Wondering if you want my husband to do a reconnaissance for you. Me by default. Got to do it early. Happy hour starts, well, early. Best regards. Best regards from Christy, who said her husband says, go Stogies.
Fantastic.
They're on their patio at St. Martin. And from St. Martin, you can see Anguilla, where we are number one.
It's January. They're in St. Martin.
Now, that's
You got a
pretty
fart
warm in St. Martin and pretty warm in Anguilla pretty much year-round. Is there a higher incidence of kidney stones there?
We should ask Christy. Let us
Just
know.
hurricanes. Hurricanes are the only issue.
And if you vote for Democrats, there'd be no hurricanes.
Correct.
They would just go away.
That's what Amy said.
That's right.
Or maybe if there were so many hurricanes, we could just get put a mountain there, build a big mountain there that would kind of stop the wind.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Let me tell you something.
We need
No,
some-
gee, others, we made him wait
One hell
with
of an
this. With
excavator.
this
No, let me
nugget.
tell you something.
Yeah, go.
There's a story. It's in multiple outlets today of the number of the amount of human waste on Mount Everest, because so many people climb this thing now that it's a bad situation that all this waste occasionally is washed to the bottom of the mountain. Right? I would build a fake Mount Everest, and maybe it would be good for tourism, so put it in maybe one of the Dakotas or wherever, but a fake Mount Everest, as tall as Mount Everest, but fully equipped all the way up with bathrooms. I'm being deadly serious, because the whole game here is to just say you climbed 29,000 feet or whatever Mount Everest is. So it builds at the exact height of Mount Everest. But on the way, hell, I'd put stairs in the thing. Just make it easy
Nice
so
little
more people,
elevator.
Well, how
Maybe
about like an
elevator.
escalator?
more people
Yeah.
could do it. And then every 5,000 feet, there was a can. And you could go in there and do your thing and then go up to the top.
Well, what if you're like 125th in line for the can?
You might have to go to a different mileage level.
It's like when you're on a road trip. You got to wait till the next rest
no,
stop.
they're all
There's a
over the
lot
place.
of-
They're all over the place. Then you get to the top, you sign a logbook or something. I climbed Mount Everest.
Is your stairway like kind of is it Babylon where it goes around and around?
Yeah, I
and around
tack
and
my
just
way up.
Work
Just like
work
this.
Your way up
You
in a
know, go
spiral?
like this.
All the way around the whole mountain,
Yeah,
too,
in-
not
in
just
a spiral.
Yeah,
In a
right.
What do
spiral.
you do about all the dead bodies? Because it's also
See,
chock-a-block
that's the other
with dead
beauty of
people.
this. The other beauty is no one would freeze to death and be left there. No one would be found. The skeletons wouldn't be found. Everyone
George
goes
Mallory.
up. Everyone comes
What?
down. They leave no mess.
How
Have a little
does-
restaurant somewhere on the thing.
How
you
does
know,
the-
stop
Chalet
and grab a
like,
bite.
chalet like.
Yeah, yeah.
The North Dakota
Just like
Department of
Charlie Hallman used to at the city.
You tack. You go like this.
how does the North
Hell, you and I
Dakota-
could do it.
Hey, the Department of Tourism. How do we sell shit mountain in North Dakota? How do we
Elevation
brand-
29,032 feet.
It wouldn't. How much?
29,032 feet.
Yeah, that's up there. That's about where your jets
Yeah,
fly.
you're running out of oxygen up
well,
there.
then
You're going to need a lot of dirt.
So that's a big deal. You got a fake Mount Everest and no bathroom problems, and to prevent kidney stones, lots of water fountains.
No, I got it. Welcome to Joe's Mountain City.
Yeah, Mountain City. Little buffet at the bottom.
Yep.
You know.
340 people have died attempting to reach it.
In my world, you ain't gonna die. I'm gonna get you up there. You're gonna love it,
Wait,
and you're
only
back down.
Only 340? Is that just this year?
No, that's
Matthew.
forever.
How many of them are Sherpas? Serious question.
No,
How many of those
Sherpas
poor
don't.
devils had to
The
sacrifice their
Sherpas,
life?
they live. The Sherpas live.
No, a
don't
lot of
they?
Sherpas died taking some hedge fund manager up there who thinks he's a mountain climber.
35 grand to climb the South Side Expedition.
Think of the money we could make.
The
with
North
this.
Side, a little bit pricier for a Western guided trip, is
Well-
still higher, 45 to 60.
You know
grand.
what? We got to start local. Let's start with Buck Hill.
Yeah. Let's let's know our limits.
Matthew, those how many people died? 300.
340.
How many died of constipation? Sounds like none of them, huh?
Apparently none of
That
them.
doesn't happen.
because that's a big problem.
Too
there.
windy to poop.
Doesn't happen at Joe's Mountain City.
No, you come to Mountain City, you're getting to the top and you're getting back down. We
John,
got
maybe you
drinking
could,
fountains and we got bathrooms.
Write a jingle for us, John. Have that ready
Going to
tomorrow.
Mountain City. John, I want a Mountain City commercial tomorrow.
Build
You know,
a
there's-
Use
famous
that
Mount
going up
Everest.
to the country song as your. We're going up to Mountain City. Don't have to take her in.
There's already a song that references by Sturgill Simpson what what you called the mountain earlier.
Yeah.
He's the king
The king of.
King of Mountain.
of said mountain, but if you want it, you can have the crown. That was Sturgill's.
Who was the guy on Trailer Park Boys? Mr. Leahy that had all the S word
Yes.
jokes. Yeah.
Only because?
Oh, I suppose, Chris.
I suppose.
I don't know why.
Please tell me are you going to do Monday Night Sports Talk?
Oh boy, are we ever!
Yeah.
I sent to both you and Chris the tweet.
Oh, thank you.
Kwesi Adolfo Mensah.
Should we give it a
made
reading?
yesterday.
Should we give it a reading?
I
You've
think,
got to read the whole thing. It's so hilarious.
Kenny, is it worth just opening the show by playing it?
Well,
Well,
it's a
can you
tweet.
play it?
Oh, I
No,
thought it was verbal.
No,
oh,
no,
okay,
it's a
gotcha.
tweet.
You've
Gotcha.
got to read it.
Okay.
You've gotta
Yeah.
read it. Yeah.
It's a tweet.
It's just delightful, though.
Just a minute. What am I doing now?
The Lymans.
Here, let me just give you a preview while Joe looks for that first paragraph here. 2 lines. Tonight isn't just another game. It's the culmination of our journey. Every snap, every tackle, every touchdown has led to this moment.
Sure
And
has.
it gets worse from there.
I found it.
Good.
Only because they come to us all the way from Lake Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Traveling Lymans. It was on this day, Chris,
It's Jan 6 to all who celebrate.
January 6th. It was on this
If you're a
day.
believer.
These are all fairly modern ones. That's very unusual. On this day in 1976, after presiding over the reserve mining lawsuit for 2.5 years, Judge Miles Lord was removed from the case because he is thought to have a bias against the company. Really? Yes, he did have a bias against the company. On this day
Jan 6.
in 1996,
Wait. Coldest temperature?
Maud Keg, elder of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe and author of books on her childhood and Ojibwe stories, died. Maud was born August 26, 1904, raised in traditional Ojibwe lifeways. In 1990, she earned a National Heritage Fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts for her traditional beadwork. And finally, on this day,
On January 6th.
in 2014,
Okay.
that's 11 years ago,
Yes.
Yes.
Governor Mark
Yes.
Dayton ordered all schools in the state closed due to cold weather predictions.
Ooh.
Not the cold weather. I
think
remember
you went
this.
after him.
I
I
remember
guess.
this distinctly.
I do remember this.
This will be the first of many temperature-related closures that winter, leading districts to develop related policies. The 2013-2014 winter was the coldest since 1978-79. And I do recall Arnie Carlson preceded Mark Dayton, and Arnie was onto this.
Okay.
Arnie was closing.
Protecting the kids.
Was going to protect the kids because it got to 19 below, I believe was the number Arnie used. Hell, we went to school, walked.
Uphill.
I
Walked.
mean,
No jackets.
We went uphill to Joe's Mountain.
yes.
I don't want it called Joe's Mountain. I want it called Mount Everest.
You can't.
It's fake. It's a fake Mount
It's
Everest.
almost like when when Target sells their generic brand, the Equate.
Yeah.
You can't call it Mount Everest.
I
You
like
see
the
all
Mountain
these
City.
people in gyms and in these mountain stores like REM or whatever it is, and they're climbing the wall.
I could buy a nice drum set there and climb a wall.
You guys, this could either be done in Vegas or at Epcot Center.
Thank you. Now
This
you're
is
thinking.
doable.
How are we making money on it?
Is it REM? The
REI.
REI. They have climbing walls in those places. You think people wouldn't flock to a fake Mount Everest?
How do you think Disney's going to deal with a place called Shit Mountain, though?
Well, Kenny, you keep bringing that up, and I'm only creating mine only partially for sanitary reasons.
Because don't they already have some sort of mountain ride, don't they?
Yeah, mountain.
I see for the opening festivities, you bring in Michael Stipe, who might be wearing a dress, and he's just singing some REM songs, and people are very confused that if they're
I
at
thought it was
REI
REM. It's
or
REI. I didn't know. I did know, but
I know.
I know.
Thank you.
GLers, what the hell?
let's go.
Fake Mount Everest, one of my better ideas. $1 million idea.
2025. Don't expect a lot.
Oh, yeah, we need a slogan.
Yeah, we do need a slogan.
Yeah, we definitely do. How about this? 2025. subscribe to GL on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, you should do that in 2025. You should join the thousands of subscribers that we have on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, where you can also watch the show each and every single day, starting right around noon. You can also see some full segments, some video shorts. All of that stuff is available to you on the Garage Logic YouTube channel. You can also follow us along on all of our social media channels. Just search for Garage Logic and sign up for the daily newsletter. The Daily Logician comes to your inbox each and every single day. It includes the most recent episode of the podcast. It also includes a weekly note directly from the mayor himself.
That's
It's called
cool.
Saturdays with Such.